You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. All right, folks, a hospital in Memphis, the largest hospital system there, said it has suspended court collection activities over unpaid medical bills. This happened days after investigation by MLK50 and ProPublica was published on how they pursued debts held by poor people and even some of their own employees. Joining us right now to talk about it is Wendi Thomas. She's the founder, editor, and publisher of MLK50, Justice Through Journalism. Wendi, so first of all, this is a non-profit hospital, okay, which means they don't pay taxes. And so walk folks through this debt collection, and they were even targeting their own employees?
Right. So what we found through our investigation is that over the past 5 years, from 2014 through 2018, the Methodist Hospital filed more than 8,300 lawsuits for unpaid hospital bills. And we found that many of these were filed against people who were low income, and some of those low income defendants were their own employees.
Okay. So they're targeting them. So the very people who are actually working for the hospital hospital to make money, but also it's a nonprofit hospital, which means they are a charity. They are just as aggressive as, frankly, for-profit companies.
And that's what our research indicated. It was really kind of striking to talk to some of the Methodist employees, including a housekeeper for the hospital who makes just over $12 an hour, and she owes the hospital $23,000. Some of the Methodist employees that were being sued got their care while at the hospital. So there's this irony there that you don't make enough money to pay your hospital bills. You're left with a hospital bill after your hospital insurance doesn't cover all the charges. And then the employer, who's not paying you enough to pay your hospital bills, sues you to try to take back some of your tiny check to cover this debt. It's just this maddening circle that just keeps people trapped in poverty.
And so you and ProPublica dropped this story, and I take it you reached out to the hospital beforehand, they blew you off, and all of a sudden it goes public, and then let's go ahead and suspend those collection efforts.
Yeah, they would not make any of their executives available for any interviews before publication, and afterwards they still haven't talked to us, but they did release a statement saying that they're going to suspend collection activities through the court. But the statement itself is really vague. And it doesn't say if this is going to be retroactive in any way. People who are having their checks garnished right now, are they going to have that money taken out? So it was vague statement and didn't cover a lot. And I think that's probably intentional. But we'll have to see what the hospital does.
All right, then. Well, Wendi Thomas, great job there with MLK50 and ProPublica. And so glad to see y'all got something done.
Thank you.
All right, we appreciate it. Let's go to our panel. George Jefferson Nuri, communication strategist. Robert Patillo, civil rights attorney. Dr. Nyambi Carter, Howard University Department of Political Science. The fact that this is a nonprofit hospital, that's what really jumps out. How they make their money. First of all, they get tax write-offs, charitable donations. But how in the hell do you go after your own employees?
Well, that's not even the most ridiculous part. The ridiculous part is you have a hospital bill. I've had hospital bills, but there's no interest charged on those bills. There was one woman who started out with a charge in her wonderful story that was $1,200. She now owes them $3,200. She makes $9.25 an hour. How is there interest charges on your hospital bill? It's aggressive. It's like one of these universities that charges you over and over again for something they didn't really teach you.
Robert, these are hospitals who, frankly, are being fierce for-profit companies. And they're benefiting by virtue of being nonprofit.
Well, we have to understand the lack of regulation for many of these nonprofit hospitals. There is often no governing body. They often are allowed to operate just simply by not paying taxes. I think this is one of the things we have to force into the national conversation on health care. Many of the candidates like to have these kind of outlandish plans. Let's concentrate on the nitty-gritty, getting people's bills down, making sure people are covered, they have access to adequate health care, and that the people should not be bankrupted because they get sick. You should not be sitting there with an injury thinking to yourself, do I need to really go to the doctor right now, or should I just see if this heals up on its own? Do I need some Robitussin on, or do I need to actually see a medical professional? We have to fix this system. We have to have politicians that really take an interest in doing something legitimate about it.
And I think this just demonstrates the fact that in this country, medical care is still not a human right. I mean, we have rights for all kinds of things, but not to your health. And we know this is what builds a strong nation. And I think, you know, if you look at many of the stories that were outlined in this particular article, I mean, it was outrageous. I mean, people who were trying to be in good standing are being charged outsized interest. I mean, this is really usury. Actually, I mean, they need to treat these medical companies, these medical hospitals, the same way they treat payday loan operators in terms of allowing them or disallowing them from charging people interest rates that essentially mean you can have a choice between eating and being domiciled, or you can pay this medical bill. I mean, this is a nonprofit religiously affiliated hospital is even more disgusting, because their mission is to look after the least of us. And they're actually being the most aggressive. And I think they said they're like the #2 debt collector in the state. So, I mean, this hospital was particularly aggressive in the attempts to recoup these monies.
Well, I grew up in Houston, and there are several nonprofit hospitals there. And Marvin Zindler, the late consumer reporter, was always going after them because he said, I'm sorry, you guys are nonprofits, and you are taking advantage of these tax laws and how they have expanded literally across the city, competing with for-profit hospitals. And he's saying, look, you should be taking care of the least of these as opposed to playing the same games. And so, but this also shows, and this is the thing that I love why this is important. There are so many people who bitch and moan about media. Oh, the media this and the media that. Yes. Okay? This is what happens when light gets shown on practices. If you don't have media, it don't happen. People hate two groups of people: media and lawyers. When they get their ass in matter of fact, there are 3 people they hate. They hate media, lawyers, and the NAACP. And when they get their ass in trouble, guess what they call? Right. Media, lawyers, and the NAACP.
But this is the real use of the Fourth Estate. This is what Thomas Jefferson was talking about, giving freedom to the press so the press can monitor what happens in our democracy. This is the First Amendment, how it's supposed to be played
and when
out.
The press works well,
when
this
the
is
press,
what you
this
have.
Is what it is.
I mean, because ProPublica has been on a roll over the last few weeks. And this is exactly what
ProPublica is a non-profit media
organization.
Right.
Exactly.
But again, Robert, there are people out there who it amazes me. They whine about the media. I cannot tell you how many emails I get every day from people who say, my son is in jail who didn't do it. They need assistance. It goes on and on and on, and this is the value of a free press, Robert?
Well, I think we also have to make the distinction between independent media and the mainstream media, because the mainstream media will run around covering every subject in the sun that nobody cares about. You know, they're talking
over and over again.
Right now, the news cycle is about Colin Kaepernick and sneakers and Betsy Ross.
Right.
Instead of talking about issues like this, so we have to start holding the mainstream media accountable for covering stories that actually benefit the community and actually have an effect. Instead of we've merged media, news, and gossip, so that now gossip is taking the place of actual news.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. MarijuanaStock.org is another great investment opportunity. If you were lucky enough to invest in their last crowdfunding campaign, you, of course, now know that those folks are invested in a publicly traded company. They raised a ton of money in a few months investing in legal marijuana farms. Now, of course, they have a new investment opportunity, which is as good or if not even better. I'm talking about industrial hemp CBD. For those who don't know, the hemp plant is the cousin to marijuana with a much higher concentration of CBD, which means hemp CBD gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Now, until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S. and creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all the plants, which makes for an incredible investment opportunity. And that's where our good friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is real simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to high-paying tenants. That's right. They are hemp CBD landlords. And you can get in on the action. You can invest in the crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200 up to $10,000. Like I said, you may not want to miss out this opportunity. Go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org to get in the game and to do it now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.